Hi everyone and welcome to Geek Stuff. Can we roll the intro? It seems like the superhero genre has reached its peak. With new superhero movies being released at record speed, it seems, everyone wants a piece of that sweet comic book to box office pie. Just between now and 2019, there are 18 superhero movies on the horizon. Some go horribly wrong and end in disaster, but some get everything right. Here's Geek Stuff's top 10 best superhero movies. 10. Superman. Christopher Reeve will always be the one and only Superman. This movie was revolutionary. For a man with superpowers to fly across a city in 1978 was really something special. It had a well-fleshed out character, and it had a fantastic background story. In fact, the first time you actually see Clark Kent in a super suit is an hour into the movie. While Henry Cavill was an okay Superman, he was a dull and not a great Clark Kent. Although in my opinion, the only person who ever made as good of a Clark Kent as did as Superman was Dean Cain in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. But then again, everything was better in the 90s. 9. KickAss. KickAss was a great new take on superhero movies. Everyone sort of expected this lighthearted comedy of this boy who wanted to be a superhero, but it was actually much darker than everyone expected. The dialogue, the backstory, the characters, and the action were all really good. What's great about KickAss is not only the main plot, but also the other storylines like the one of Big Daddy and Hit Girl. Nicolas Cage's portrayal of Big Daddy is enough to put him on the list of best Batmans. The dynamic between Big Daddy and Hit Girl and the dynamic between Hit Girl and Kick-Ass are spot on. Of course, they got greedy and they made a star-studded sequel, which really wasn't that great, but the first one definitely deserves a spot on this list. 8. Flash Gordon. Okay, hear me out. There were many things wrong with Flash Gordon. It had a silly plot, it had a really thin backstory that was literally just New York Jets quarterback, and it had a really weak representation of space. Yet, for all its faults, Flash Gordon is still one of the best superhero movies ever made, because it had something that many superhero movies still get wrong. It had a heroic, relatable Earthling versus a super evil space emperor. A classic tale of good versus evil. And of course, it had that Queen soundtrack. To this day, Sam Jones is many a 80s kid's childhood hero. Take that, Emperor Ming. 7. The Avengers. Marvel's first Avengers movie was every geek's dream. It was action-packed, but there was still enough time for plenty of witty dialogue. It didn't have one but 6 awesome superheroes, and it had a great villain. Too many superhero movies underestimate the importance of a great villain. That's right, I'm looking at you, Suicide Squad. Hey, don't just take my word for it. The Avengers got 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, and they don't just give out those scores willy-nilly. When is everyone going to understand that if you want a great adaptation of a beloved comic book, you need to put it in the hands of a comic book geek? Yeah, Joss Whedon fangirled over his own superheroes. Hard. 6. Iron Man. Let's not forget what set the tone for these awesome Marvel movies. It was Jon Favreau who started Marvel's winning streak with the first Iron Man movie. Again, it was jam-packed with action, great special effects, but it also had a lot of room for incredible dialogue and one of the most lucrative casting choices of the century.
Yeah, I can fly.
It was almost like a portal for non-comic book fans to enter the realm of superheroes, and now everyone loves a good superhero movie. Iron Man got a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's even higher than the Avengers. Robert Downey Jr. will forever be Tony Stark, but something tells me he doesn't mind that too much. 5. Captain America: Civil War. The release date of Captain America: Civil War was one that was circled on every Marvel geek's calendar. The second the trailer came out and this happened...
On the roof!
Hey everyone.
This was literally the internet. The whole secret Spider-Man deal between Sony and Marvel worked out for the best, and Marvel finally got to portray Spider-Man in their vision. And let's be honest, how awesome was Spider-Man in Civil War? The interaction between Tony Stark and Peter Parker was beyond perfect, and the whole setup of Civil War was just brilliant. Of course, there was the one epic battle scene that everyone was waiting for, and oh boy, it did not disappoint. And there was still a great focus on what it all boiled down to in the end. Tony Stark versus the Captain. 4. The Incredibles. This Pixar movie came out in 2004 and it amazed everyone. They won all of the awards, including the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. It was something that hadn't really been done before. It was an animated movie, so everyone expected it to be targeted towards kids. But really, plot twists and underlying issues really made this movie relatable and enjoyable for adults as well. Brad Bird didn't only write and direct the movie, but he also voiced one of the characters, Edna Mode, in the movie. He's also worked on almost 200 episodes of The Simpsons. This man truly has a gift, and he proved it again just 3 years later when he won another Oscar for Ratatouille. 3. Guardians of the Galaxy. How does that tune not make you happy or remind you of Guardians of the Galaxy? Everyone was so worried, but James Gunn proved them all wrong. Guardians of the Galaxy was an incredible movie. It didn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time it had a great storyline, great characters, great chemistry between the characters, familiar faces or voices. It just made you feel things. There was nostalgia and euphoria and grief. You know which part I'm talking about. I mean, the initial pitch probably didn't do much for the studio. So the movie's about these intergalactic criminals who team up, and there's also a raccoon in it, and there's a tree, and we're thinking about getting Vin Diesel to play him, and there's also a little bit of John C. Reilly in it for a little bit. It definitely is one of the better superhero movies. 2. Deadpool. Deadpool was one of those cases where a long-awaited movie was everything you expected and more. It changed the superhero landscape. And what had even a bigger impact than this movie was the story behind it. Ryan Reynolds spent a decade fighting to get this movie made. He actually spent his own money for the sake of this project. Fox wouldn't pay for writers Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick to be on set during filming, so Ryan Reynolds paid out of his own pocket to have them there 6 days a week. This movie is just everything a superhero movie should be. Quick, witty, in an X-rated kind of way, it's brilliantly cast, and it's not just another movie from the superhero factory. Deadpool is known to be vulgar, violent, sassy. He consistently breaks down the fourth wall in the comic book, so it was important to have all that in the movie, and it definitely did. Bearing in mind that this movie had a budget of only $58 million.
It's a big house. It's funny that I only ever see 2 of you. It's almost like the studio couldn't afford another X-Man.
1. The Dark Knight. Currently, still at number 1, The Dark Knight. While Heath Ledger's Joker alone is a perfectly valid reason to consider this movie the best superhero movie of all time, it's everything about this film. Christian Bale is far from the best Batman and even further from the best Bruce Wayne. But what Christopher Nolan did with the Batman franchise, and specifically with The Dark Knight, was special. Everything about this movie is bang on. The opening scene alone is incredible, and it should be taught in film schools forever. And what's even more amazing than that mind-blowing first scene is that everything that follows lives up to it. The film's energy, the pace, the feeling, the score, everything is right. And let's talk about Heath Ledger's Joker, because you know what? We should. We always should. Was Heath Ledger the best Joker yet? That's impossible to say, because Jack Nicholson's Joker was a completely different character, it was a different world, it was a different setting. But Heath Ledger's Joker was smart. He was psychotic. He was pure evil, and he was pure insanity. It worked on a level that it was haunting, and the villain actually turned the movie into a thriller. It's a prime example of why just having a legendary superhero like Batman doesn't automatically make for a great movie. It's not enough. You need a good villain. Christopher Nolan got it 100% right, and it's not wrong to assume that The Dark Knight is going to be the best superhero movie for years to come. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, you can help me out by giving it a thumbs up, and also please tell me in the comments if you agree or disagree. Why? Why would you disagree?